Hey everybody, and welcome to the channel. For those of you who are new here, my name's Adam. I'm a high school tech ed teacher. I teach classes like electronics, CAD, 3D printing, wood tech, a bunch of different stuff. And I'm trying to start a 3D print farm at my home. Try and make a little bit of extra income on the side, just learn a little bit and try and start a business and see what happens. So first thing on the docket for today is I've been purging a little bit in the workshop here. So it's time to get some stuff cleaned up and organized and ready to go. All right, so again, I've just been purging quite a bit lately, just trying to get the workshop cleaned up. And the difficult part, again, for me is with how busy things have been, is it's just kind of like I try and work a little bit in the shop, in the workshop here and there, instead of like consistent dedicated work sessions. And what happens is that just ends up turning into 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there that I don't necessarily want to spend cleaning. So at one point, I just kind of end up dropping stuff all over the place. And I know that's not necessarily the best way to go about things, but it is what happens. So every time I get a spare little second, it's good to get things clean and ready to go. All right, so now that we're a little bit more organized in the shop here, what we're gonna do, don't look over there, is, all right, everybody, so now that the shop is clean and it's a couple days later, we're gonna hop into some Fusion 360 and start talking a little bit about what the plans are for today. So in the previous video, we had issues with kind of this line right around the point where it met the opening for the drawer. We also had, it might be a little tougher to see, a bunch of these like tougher marks on the top here. I use the tree supports. So what I'm gonna do is take a little bit of time and head into Fusion and try and print like replicas of like just this section here. Make them smaller, that way I can kind of dial in my support settings there, and also try and take care of that, people call it a haul line. I don't really know what the issue is, but again, if you didn't see that previous video, there's these lines here, a little tougher to see, that like scrape on both sides. So I thought initially maybe it was a layer shift at that point, but it wouldn't be a layer shift if both sides are jutting out a little bit. So I saw a couple different things that I'll talk about here in the video that I'm going to change, but that's going to be the plan for today. So hopping into Fusion, I'm just going to make a really quick small area. So right now this whole piece is, I forget what the size was that I made, like right around 200 millimeters. So I'm going to do something quite a bit smaller. I don't know, that seems fine to me. I don't necessarily have anything super specific that I'm looking for. So now that I have this, let's do 30 millimeters. And again, I know this might be a waste of filament, but I also think like it's important to dial in my settings quite a bit too. And I'm not at the point of generating any sales. So I just want to kind of dial in my settings, see what looks nice. And then I think this would be a good first product to try and get up on Etsy. So I just want to make sure that it's good to go. That way, if something would go well there, I want to be prepared to sell something. So I'm going to make my opening here. So let's make our offset on this point. And now another thing that I thought about is, all right, so these here, I think that I made my walls, let me see what I got here, only like 2 millimeters. So maybe my wall thickness, so like this part right here is a little too thin. So I'm going to try a bunch of different settings with those. So maybe I'll try something like 3 millimeters here, and I'll see if that kind of gets Makes anything a little bit better. Look at it from the side here, that way I can tell how that's looking. I think that'll look good here. And then I'm gonna extrude this up just a little bit here. That way I can tell a little bit better if that line is gonna be at that point or not. So that's gonna be pretty simple. I know it's a really simple print, but I'm gonna run through a bunch of iterations of this today and try and dial in my settings a little bit. So let's head into Orca Slicer and see if we can get some different settings aligned. All right, so I have my piece imported into Orca Slicer. And there's a couple things that I'm going to try here. First off, I've been dialing in my settings to make sure that the ends don't curl up. So I'm going to make sure that that is still set properly. So what I've been doing is going 60 degrees for my textured build plate. And then if I head to cooling, I've been doing no cooling for the first 4 layers. And then my fan speed, I'm going to set to 60% for the entire print. Now, what I'm going to do in order to adjust settings themselves here is in quality, there is a setting, and let me remember where that's going to be, the wall printing order. What I'm going to try to do is see if I can do the outer first and then the inner, and just see if that helps. Again, I've been looking through Reddit a lot and trying to see parts of these, just different things that might help. So I've been just going to try kind of all of these and then dial in as we go. The support itself, then I'm going to enable support. I think I'm going to do the auto support and see kind of how that turns out. Because I did tree supports last time. Again, I think it was just too many pieces. And then I'm going to adjust my Z distance a little bit. I have a video on this. I'll link it in here of what I did in Cura to make support settings really easy to remove. And this is something that I messed with quite a bit. So I'm actually going to keep this one at 0.16 as our default pattern, and I'm just going to keep that as is. Let's slice that and see what we're looking at. So about an hour 26 minutes. I feel like that's a little much for a test print, so I can go back into prepare. I might scale this down a little bit, maybe 90%. And just see, again, I think it should be kind of the same. An hour's not too bad, and I'm only wasting 40 grams of filaments. That math was not correct. Almost 50 grams of filament, which is fine, especially as I'm not working through printing things out right now. I think this would be a good first model to kind of, again, crank out and just start messing with support settings a little bit. So let's get this on the printer, and I will be back with you whenever this is done. All right, so first test print is off the printer here. So it's better, I think. It's hard to see a little bit. You can still definitely see it for sure, those lines. But it's certainly better. And the supports themselves, they come out pretty nice, honestly. Whoa. Heck yeah. I think that is better because it's smoother. I still might try, I know I messed with the Z distance a little bit of that. So I might try and touch up the Z distance a little bit and then see what else I can change. I think the one thing I am going to change is the type of infill. I did see that was a potential cause for somebody on Reddit as well, is they were using gyroid or something and they changed the infill pattern, and that helped out a lot. So I'm going to try that and see if that's a ticket. Another thing I noticed here, and I'll keep an eye on, is the top of this certainly came out a little wonky. Again, I don't know if that's over extruded, under extruded. May have to recalibrate the filament a little bit, but that's something I'll keep in mind. So I'll focus on these first. You can even hardly see it there. It's a little bit better. Those first, and then circle back around. And then just so I can keep track, I'm going to write what the settings I used on here, just for a little peace of mind. All right, everybody. Take number 2 here. Better. Not great still. Still having that issue at the top there, under extruding, I would believe. Now, one of the interesting parts about this that I'm maybe trying to hone in on is I know it may be tough to see, but right at that corner, that is where on Orca Slicer I saw that the seam ended up being. So I'm going to try and put random seams on Orca Slicer and see if that kind of helps. Maybe that's what I'm seeing with it kind of like bubbling out to the side a little bit. So I really wonder if that could be part of the issue. And then I'm going to see these supports here. I want to see how those pop out. I lowered that down to 0.18 instead of 0.2 because I want just trying to get a cleaner like top layer finish. And I also lowered the distance in between them. So that is good. Still not quite right. Mess with that a little bit as well. So, you know, and then I don't really like how kind of jut. Now you can see that from the top there. But got some progress. So I'm going to try that random seam as well on this and see what we keep getting with. All right, everybody. So here's this next model. Of course, I just had it focusing right, and now it's not going to. There we go. So you can see that I tried that random seam, and it looks like, I don't know if I have a clog. It's over extruding there, so you can hear my printer revving up right now. So what I'm doing right now is just calibrating this filament in hopes that it helps a little bit. Will it? I don't know, but we're going to try and see. I'm sure you don't want to see the whole calibration step, so I'm going to call that there for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any suggestions on stuff that you saw today, as I try to kind of troubleshoot this product here, please let me know. I'd love for you to throw it down in the comments below. And if you have any feedback, anything like that you would like to see in future videos, you can leave that down below as well. If you enjoyed what you're seeing and want to follow along as I try to create my own 3D printing business, I'd love it if you subscribe, give the video a like. Let me know what you're building at your house. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. We'll see you all soon. Thank you.